on other slides also. So please use presentation mode. Okay, perfect.
Hello everyone, professors and lecturers, students and colleagues. Today I'm honored to present in this online seminar entitled German Vietnamese Academic Change on Aviation Markets and their Regulations. And for my part, I'm going to talk about the aviation industry in Vietnam and Southeast Asia. But in the contrast of Professor Richards, I talk more about the Vietnam industry rather than the aviation industry in the Southeast Asia. So here we are going to have a brief Vietnam's aviation sector overviews, and I also mentioned about this number at the pre-COVID pandemic. So it was around in 2019. So that at that time we had 221 registered aircraft. So in which we have 72 foreign airlines that operated in Vietnam, and all the airlines operated 138 international routes and 50 domestic routes, and within 11 international airports in Vietnam and 12 domestic airports. So here in Vietnam, we have the main pillar of the legal frameworks that governs the Vietnam's aviation sectors. So that's based on the law on Vietnam Civil Aviation, and just this provision of the laws provide a legal basis to promote the development of Vietnam's civil aviation industry, and that join hand in building a healthy international aviation environments. So here we will see a number of decrees from the government that to run the Vietnam's aviation operation. You see Decree 44, there's stated the regulation on the management, the use and the exploitation of the aviation structure. Decree 66 that defines the aviation authority, and Decree 125 that the government stipulates in detail air traffic management. And we have Decree 92 for the aviation security, Decree 30 for air transportation business and general air operation, and Decree 92 that provides conditional business sectors or activities in the civil aviation industry. And we also have the Decree 89 to amend the Decree 92 and Decree 30. And besides that, we have the Circular 53 on price and price range of aviation related at airports and aerodrome Vietnam, and the Circular 36 on management of domestic air transport, freight and aviation services process. And all of the decrees and circular that I mentioned here, they are still in effect until at the present time. So we also have the recent updates from the government that based on the Decree 81, and the government that has issued a new Decree 81 that comes into effect in January in 2020 to change the air transport business requirements with a view to creating favorable conditions not only for enterprises that set up their business, airlines business, or they invest in the airports. So according to this regulation, the foreign ownerships of any airlines established in Vietnam that are loosened by increasing the limits of foreign ownership cap from a previous 30% to 34%. So a requirement, the requirement that states in the foreign invested airlines, so they must be transferred to the foreign investor 2 years after the airlines will get their airport licenses. And so regarding to the conditions of granting an airport business license, the updated decree 89 also stipulates that the minimum capital level that have to be selected is around 4 million US dollars, and the foreign investors cannot hold more than 30% of the charter capital. And one more thing is that the new regulations also sets the age limit for the used airport that imported into Vietnam. So here I would like to present you the civil aviation business model in Vietnam. So here you will see, firstly we have the government, and under the government will be the Ministry of Transportation. And the Civil Aviation Administration of Vietnam is under the Ministry of Transportation. And these governmental bodies will manage all of the airports, all the entities, the Airports Corporation of Vietnam, the Vietnam Air Traffic Management Corporations, Vietnam Aviation Academy Study Area School, and also other airlines such as Vietnam Airlines and its daughter companies or associated companies, and also the private airlines in Vietnam. So here I would like to present you around some key point, remarkable point about the Vietnam's aviation sector in 2019. So you will see that we have the opportunities from the massive growth in the tourism industry. So you see that in 2019, it was a fruitful years for Vietnam's tourism industry, and where the number of foreign tourists reached up to 18 million tourists, and the growth rate is expected to increase 16% year on year. And we also have around 55 million domestic tourists within Vietnam. And the Vietnamese government believes that these numbers will keep growing, and by 2025. So we expected that by 2025 we will have 160 million visitors, both foreign and domestic tourists. And the average growth rate from 2020 to 2030 is around 8%. And to accommodate such volumes, so we are running 23 airports to serve 144 million passengers. This is annual traffic. And besides that, we have strong competitions and new players, and with the booming of low-cost carriers, mainly Vietjet Air and Jetstar, now rebranded into the Pacific Airlines. So we also welcome newcomers such as
đang dự mấy cái hội thảo
Bamboo Airways, Vietstar Airlines, Thai Air, Big Travel Airlines. And besides that, challenges. Firstly, this is the overloaded infrastructure. So you see that we had a very rapid growth, but it's also created many difficulties and challenges for the industry. So especially in keeping up with the demand for infrastructure. And according to the aviation experts in Vietnam, so they say that aviation is a very hard standard sector, and that requires safety, security, and national defense. And the new players that are expected to benefits the customers, but this is also difficult to the authority to deal with the overloaded airport, especially the Tanzania airport that is located in our city, Ho Chi Minh City. This airport in 2018 to 2019 has welcomed 48 million travelers. So this is only designed for 25 million passengers only. So you see that we have the main problems of the infrastructure, and second, the key challenge that we are confronting to is the shortage of the human resources. So we are short of the safety officers, the technicians, and especially well-trained pilots. And the Civil Aviation Authority of Vietnam, they also see that the limit fleet expansion among domestic airlines, and also around 70% of pilots working in the Vietnamese airlines are foreigners. They are mostly from Australia, from Europe, or from the United States. And we don't have enough the workforce such as the Vietnamese pilots at the moment, and we also have the lack of qualified local pilots. So this remains the biggest challenge for the Vietnamese aviation industry until now and in the upcoming years. And besides that, we also have the opportunities. Look like we have a sustainable development for the aviation industry and the tourism industry, because the Vietnamese government would like to create the specific solutions and to solve the problems about the infrastructure and about the competitions among airlines. Healthy competitions among the national airlines and also private airlines, and we also hope to have the permission from the FAA, I mean the U.S. Federal Aviation Administration, to have a direct flight from Vietnam to USA, and we have realized that plan in the last month. So you see that every countries that have the effects from the COVID-19 outbreak. So we also have, and this is very severe situation. So for the aviation market, you see that the air transport demand in 2020 is decreased from 45% up to 66%, and the revenues in 2020 decreased 61% compared to the year 2019, and the revenues in the half of the year 2021 is decreased tremendously, 80% compared to the same periods in 2020, and we expect it will keep decreasing until the end of 2021. And the total estimated loss in 2021 is expected to be around 800 million US dollars, and the stock debt increased to 1 billion US dollar. And the total recovery to the year 2019, so it would be seen in 2024. And for the airline status, you will see that the Vietnam Airlines, there is the national airlines, it will lose around 400 million US dollars, and the same as Vietjet Air. This airline is short of around 400 million US dollars as well to retain its operation. And for the private airlines such as Vietjet Air and Bamboo Airways, they maintain their operation by transferring assets in 2020, but they are still confronting difficulties in 2021. So currently, we have around 30 foreign airlines from Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, Middle East, and France, and also with the domestic airlines, but their operations are merely to transport the repatriating passengers the expert coming to Vietnam for working and students coming from Vietnam or going out and cargo only. So current issues is that the shortage of finance, the health barriers that require the passengers to do the quarantines for the 7 days or 14 days, and the border restriction between countries and countries. And we also propose the solution for airlines that from the Aviation Association that they demand the decrease of 2% of the loan interest that allow airlines to restructure their debt and retain the deadline to pay debt until the end of the year. And they also demand to waive or decrease the taxes and the fees up to 50% to release the burden from the airlines company. So here you will see the recovery of the Vietnamese aviation market. So from the quarter 3 of 2021, so the Vietnamese side still transport the Vietnamese laborers go outside of Vietnam and to other countries such as Korea, Taiwan, Singapore, Thailand, Malaysia, France, Germany, Russia, and Australia. And these targeting are the laborer. And we operate 3 airports that are Vân Đồn, Da Nang, and Cam Ranh to operate these types of passengers. And for foreign passengers coming to Vietnam, so the requirement is that the passengers need to be vaccinated 2 times. And for phase 2 from January in 2022, so we are allowed to transport passengers to Vietnam so without a license from the Vietnamese government. So the frequency will be 4 flights per week. So the flights would be from and to Vietnam to China, Hong Kong, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Laos, Cambodia, France, Germany, Russia, UK, and Brazil, and Australia. And the passengers also are required to be vaccinated 2 times, and they have to be quarantined in Vietnam after their arrivals within 7 days. And for phase 3 from April 2022, so passengers do not need to quarantine for 7 days. And for phase 4, so that time when the immunity exists in the community, so airlines are allowed to fly with their exclusive slot, but passengers also prove that they are vaccinated. So in short, in the first 9 months of 2021, so there were around 500 international flights and transporting passengers to and from Vietnam, and with 350,000 passengers, and with the load factors only around 13%. And within 7,500 international flights, so the flights to Vietnam is around 3,700 flights with 153 to 100 passengers, and with the loss factor 6.5%. This is about the repatriate flights. And at present, we have 4 domestic airlines. There are Vietnam Airlines, Vietjet Air, Bamboo Airways, and Pacific Airlines. And those airlines are focusing on the main routes. There's Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City route, and with the load factors from 75 to 90% because of high demand. And they also increase the frequency to the central region. This is the city that called Da Nang, from Ho Chi Minh City to Da Nang and Hanoi to Da Nang with 3 to 6 flights per day. And here you will see the chart that presented the Vietnam releases capacity in daily new COVID. So we see that for the dark blue, this represent the domestic capacity, and the light blue is around international capacity, and the red line is about the daily cases. So you will see that from the October to the red license will stop in September. But before that, you see it also depends on the situation. The flights is not regularly, and the international capacity reduced remarkably. Mm, and here I would like to introduce you a little bit about the Asian community. So because they're here, we have students. So I would like to brief shortly about the ASEAN. So ASEAN here will stand for the Association of Southeast Asian Nations that will comprise 10 countries. So we see on the map it includes Brunei, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. So here you will see that the ASEAN has proposed a major aviation initiative policy. Before that was called the ASEAN Single Aviation Market that we call the ASAM. So this policy aims to create a single unified aviation market with a population of around 600 million people in Southeast Asia. And this policy allows, so you will see in my right side, so this policy allows on air carriers that register their business in any Asian country to fly freely and without limitation is this unified block. So with the liberalization within the ASEAN region, you see that before the COVID-19 outbreak, this policy helped us to create the competition environment that allow consumers to enjoy comparative price, and the travelers and exporters have more choice to select the airlines, and this also boosts and improve the tourism sectors and increase the travelers related business, and next to improve the economic growth and create more job opportunities, and also create a competition in the industry very toughly. But at the moment, so we will see the Southeast Asia aviation market overview. So you see that before that we project that the growth rate it would be 4.5%, but and also in the ASEAN region, the Southeast Asian countries, each country, they are supported by their government, they also grow very strongly. But we have to admit that the COVID-19 pandemic, so the air passenger traffic in countries such as Vietnam, Cambodia, the Philippines, Thailand, is also declined by 34% up to 40% respectively. And this decrease in mainly in passenger traffics as well as the load factors, and this affects to the revenues of the airlines, so which may have a subsequent effects on the future expansion and procurement plans in the upcoming year. So in a summary, you will see the strong recovery in Vietnam. So after the COVID-19 second wave, and secondly, Singapore, the most developed countries in the ASEAN region. So this country is easing border the restriction. And Singapore Airlines, Cathay Pacific Airlines, the other two airlines in the regions, and other Southeast Asian airlines, they would do restructuring and will review their strategy to fit these periods. And the most famous low-cost airlines that is Asia is scrambled to shore up liquidity, and because some of its units are more at risk than other airlines. And here I've just stated that this Singapore is a leader in easing the border restriction, and it will recover its tourism industry and the aviation industry after the effect of the COVID-19. So it will remove the quarantine requirements with some countries such as New Zealand, Vietnam, Brunei, and Australia. And this is the last slide that within this situation, the airlines in ASEAN are reviewing and restructuring in order to survive. And we see that the two major players, that are the Singapore Airlines and the Cathay Pacific, they have been reviewing their operation and realign themselves with the new industry environment. And especially for Singapore Airlines, they will review the shape and size its network in the longer term, and there will be changes in their fleet plan. And Cathay Pacific, they're going to cut costs and restructure themselves. They might reduce the workforce by 24%, and they will cut around 8,500 positions. And other carriers in Southeast Asia, such as Thai Airways, Garuda, Malaysia Airlines, they are undertaking restructuring themselves. And the most important, this is the low-cost airline, the AirAsia. This airlines does not have the support from the government because they are low-cost airlines, and they need to raise their liquidity to survive because of the effect from the COVID-19 crisis. And its sister company, the AirAsia, is so this airline faces major survival challenges, and it has been forced to suspend all flights due to the pandemic, and they have no firm date to resume the operations. So thank you very much for your listening. So this is some key points I'm going to share with you about the Vietnamese aviation industry and some key points from the Asian Airlines. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Tai Binh, for your presentation and a lot of information about the Vietnam aviation market and as well as the Southeast Asia.
Yeah.
And I saw there are some questions to both sides, and now is the time for the Q&A. And if you have any questions, please use the raising hand function. Or so that you can ask the question directly, or you can just send a message on the chat box. And then I saw, like good to see it on the chat box. Some question for you, Dr. Binh.
Yeah.
There is a question from Professor Tobias Grosch. Are there any existing investment of foreign airlines in Vietnamese airlines or not?
Oh.
I think there is, right? There is Anna who buy the shares of the Vietnam Airlines.
Yeah, but long term. But
No, it's currently.
11% of the stakes.
Yeah. Just buy some share, but that cannot be the majority of the shares, according to laws. Yeah. And then, like there as Mr. Kuang from the CAAV, he knows it very well.
Yeah.
before there is Asian Airlines and some other LLC airlines that like to set up the joint venture with the Vietnamese airline, but it could not work. And then, we have the specific conditions for the foreign airlines to invest into the Vietnamese airlines. And then another question for you, Dr. Bing, that is from Professor Eric Herman. Can you provide information on potential consolidation in the Vietnam Airlines industry driven by the pandemic?
Actually, under the effect of the pandemic, so airlines have to strive to survive by themselves. So I don't see Vietnam Airlines, even it has losses, but it still survive with the support from the government. And for private airlines, they are still struggling with the financial issues. And we don't at present. We don't see the consolidation between the airlines together. But for this part, I think Mr. Cường Võ from the VAAC that he understands the situation that better than me, so he can help me to answer this if there's any potential for consolidation in the future.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. And then there is another question from the CAV, from Mr. Kung, from CAV to Professor Richard.
Yeah.
Thank you for this question.
Yeah.
Actually, I gave it already some thought when I was reading it in the chat. So the question is it good to close the border to keep safe from COVID-19 so that domestic air travel can survive or may survive, and also the airlines? I have two thoughts on this. One is that in Europe, it's difficult really to tell what is domestic, because we have in Europe established what is called a single aviation market. So that means an Irish carrier like Ryanair, a low-cost carrier, is free to decide to have, for example, a route within Germany, cabotage, say from Düsseldorf to Berlin. And so domestic in the European Union means that you can arrange for travel within the so-called Schengen area, so within the European Union and some other countries. That is one part. So domestic means a little bit a different thing in Europe, I would say, because it includes inter-European traffic. And regarding the question with our domestic travel, even inter-European travel would be sufficient to keep airlines alive. I think this might be the case with low-cost carriers. So low-cost carriers could survive just on domestic or inter-European travel, but this is certainly not the case for the large airline groupings that I mentioned, like Air France KLM or IAG or the German Lufthansa Group or the German-led Lufthansa Group. So the network carriers and the large airline groupings in Germany and in the other European countries, they wouldn't be able to survive just on domestic travel. So it's not an option. I really enjoyed this question, and I hope I addressed it satisfactorily.
Yeah, that is really, the big argument with what is right and wrong decisions during the pandemic, when on the aviation sectors, on the airlines and other companies, aviation companies are suffering from the pandemic, the most suffering. Everyone is suffering, but the airlines, we can see it very clearly. And then a lot of arguments on that. Not only I don't know how it is in Europe, but it's very hot issues now in Vietnam. That's why we have that questions. And then how about the yeah, okay.
The next one, a lot of chaos. That is also a difficult question. I think I don't know. That's one of the good things about having this exchange. I'm not completely familiar with the situation in your part of the world, but in Europe we have a hard time nowadays really to tell what is a low-cost carrier. So clearly we have. I mentioned the top three carriers in Europe, the low-cost carriers. That is Ryanair, EasyJet, and Wizz Air. And Ryanair and Wizz Air would be considered to be following still to a certain extent at least the low-cost model, while many other carriers that are under the heading of low-cost are rather hybrid carriers. So the question is, I agree to the question that we see an increasing market share of low-cost carriers, but these are not pure low-cost carriers any longer. So it's just a new breed of carriers that are kind of attacking the established network carriers. And that is the current situation in Europe.
Yeah, thank you. And then, you know, like I just missed almost missed the question from Jen Christoph. Dr. Ben, he had a question for you. That there are 10 people symbolizing the different Asian countries, but only 9 country names mentioned. From which country is the 10th person? Yeah. Or you both can have the answer later on.
Yeah, we have 9 countries. So maybe I missed to present Vietnam. But
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
May I have a question to Dr. Trần Thái Bình?
Yes, please.
In your presentation, there's a very good that you pointed out a number of problems in aviation in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And one of the things is that there is the overloading infrastructure in aviation. So my question is whether you think of any solution to the slot constraint at the airport and the solution to the problem of delay and cancellation. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Huy Cương. So we have seen that the infrastructures is the key problems for the Vietnamese aviation industry. So currently we have 2 key main airports, that is Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. But now we are going to put into effect of the operation of new airports such as Vân Đồn Airport in the north. And also we still have so many international airports and domestic airports that are available, that they need to be upgraded and to put into to exploit the capacity, and to also we have to allocate the slot for the airlines to exploit appropriated airports in order to scatter the density from Ho Chi Minh City, Tân Sơn Nhất airports and Noi Bai airports to other airports as well. And for the slot, we are going to just from the governmental part from BAAC to issue the slot to airlines, and have to provide the fare I would like to mean the fare allocation between airlines, such as private airlines and national airlines, that forum to operate through international flights and domestic flights with equal opportunities and equal chances, that they're going to take the nice time for good destination. So I think it's this strategy will have to be supported for For those airlines in Vietnam, because we don't have so many airlines, we just have the national airlines, Vietnam Airlines, and other private airlines such as Vietjet Air, Bamboo Airways, and also at present, when we have the challenges of the infrastructure, we have to support domestic airlines first before allowing the expansion or allowing the presence of other low-cost airlines from foreign countries. So because we cannot afford the capacity at the current time, and since we cannot adapt, so we need to develop within the control. So I think that
Yeah.
thank you. It's thank you.
Yeah. I think it is a very big question. It's not easy to just give some answers, right? I think that all of us here agree with that. Thank you, Dr. Bing. Thank you, everyone, for the questions. I saw your questions coming, but our time is is over. We have the limited time for the Q&As now, and then we are a little over the time setting on the agenda. So I think that we could come back with the second part of the seminar first, and then we will have another Q&A sections later after that.
Yeah.
And then I take note all the questions from you.